Okay, so maybe you're working on your online income for quite some time now, you have like some income coming in, right? And you realize, okay, if I'm making money from home, why not like go to some other places and make money from there, right? Because it's online, why not? Or maybe you're planning on starting a business and you consider at some point traveling and working online and making money online. Here are some tips that I have for you that I learned on my journey of like traveling through the world, or mainly Latin America and right now also Cyprus for the last couple of months. So enjoy. So the first point is to stay at your places or at the country that you are at or the cities that you're visiting for longer, right? Not only for some weeks, but ideally like 1, 2, or 3 months. Because what I realized for myself is that everywhere when you change your place, right, you're in a new city, you have to find a rhythm, right? You have to find the place where you know where you work, where you feel comfortable, that maybe the co-working space that you want to go, the cafes that you go, the supermarkets where you go, and there's some time that you need to find your rhythm and to find like the places that you need on a daily basis, right? So that's the first thing that needs time. But the second point is that you also have more time to really get to know a culture, right? Because if you're only there for like a couple of weeks, you can't really get to know the culture like very well. But if you're there for at least like 2 to 3 months or longer, you have time, you have enough time to get to know the culture while working. Because usually what we do, we still work, we still have to work, right? And we will have maybe free time on the weekends. And those times will be used sometimes to, okay, get to know the culture. Because if we are not doing this, if we're just inside and not getting to know the culture, not meeting new people from different cultures, we can also stay at home, right? We can also do this in the hometown, our home country, and stay in some office. We probably would be more productive. But we do this traveling because we want to get to know different cultures, we want to see different things, we want to experience different weather, different temperature, maybe beaches where we want to go, stuff like this. Next point that is really important that I got to know for myself is that you will like strictly separate your work time and your free time, right? And you schedule your work time. Because what is most likely that if you are traveling, this work and travel lifestyle or this digital nomad lifestyle, that you will not work from an office. And in the office there you have the benefit that you have clearly like the focus for work, right? This is just a space where I work, and for my free time I will go home, right? Or I will go outside or somewhere. And then it could be pretty easy or pretty like tempting, let's say, to start chatting with somebody. Okay, I'm in a co-working space. This person is from a different culture. This is interesting. I'm here to meet new people, right? This is why I'm traveling. Okay, let's have a chat with them. Or in a cafe, right? I'm learning Spanish right now in the cafe. They are speaking Spanish, so I can use that to have a chat to speak some Spanish. This is what I would recommend you to avoid, because you need to have like a time when you sit down and where you are productive. And if you have those, and if you mix those two, if you mix free time and if you mix working time, the consequence will be you will not get shit done. You will have like 12 or 14-hour work days and you will not get as much done or less done than, for example, what you will get done in a couple of hours with focus in, for example, an office where nobody is distracting you, where nobody comes to you and talks to you all of the time, right? So this is why it's super important to not get distracted and clearly structure your times. Right, so the next point I wrote down for myself is that ideally be a little bit smart about your travel destinations, right? Because if you're traveling and if you cross time zones too quickly, what will happen? You will have jet lag, right? And you will have sleeping problems. So ideally, you're traveling to like very close locations where the time difference is just like maybe 1 hour, maybe 2 hours, right? Where it's not that huge, because this is how you can avoid the jet lag, because the time zone are almost the same. This is what happened to us when we moved back from Colombia here to Cyprus, 8-hour time difference. At least for me, I had a huge jet lag, and you are out of the rhythm, right? You're awake at night, you are sleeping like very long. Of course, you cannot be productive. And if you are working for yourself, and if you're self-employed, you have to perform, right? You cannot maybe just take time off for 8 days, right? Maybe you cannot do this. So ideally, travel quickly so we will avoid those problems. I wrote this down because we had this problem. But I think it is to some degree also like self-explanatory, right? Not only because of the jet lag, this is one reason, but also because, okay, it doesn't make sense to switch from one end of the world to the other end of the world all of the time. So you would like naturally probably do this anyway. But I just want to mention this. If you haven't thought about that, might be a smart idea to try to avoid jet lag if you want to perform. Alright, so the fourth point that I wrote down, it's not really an advice or something, it's more something that you should be aware of or that you will notice at some point, and that is that you have to adapt your work time or your work schedule towards like the time zone, right? Or adapt it to the time zone. Because for example, especially when you have appointments, and I am in sales, right? So I have strict appointments. And when I'm selling in Germany, those people, they have their time zone and they expect me to, of course, call in their time zone, right? So there are specific times when you can call people. You can call them at 3 a.m. in the morning. So what you have to do, or what I had to do, is to adopt this time schedule, this time zone towards my work schedule. So what I did, for example, in Colombia, we were like 7 hours. Yeah, so we were like a little bit later, right, than Germany. So what I did, for example, when I was waking up, had my morning routine, etc. And at 7 a.m. it was like 2 p.m. in Germany. So I had to start with my sales calls, right? I had to start calling people. And then I was working, for example, until like 3 p.m., 4 p.m. when it was like very late in Germany. And then the people like went to bed, right? Then I had free time to do other things, right? So what was I doing? I was working on the other projects that I have. YouTube, for example, producing a YouTube video for the channel, gym, right, stuff like this. And here, for example, in Cyprus, when it's 2 p.m. here, it's 1 p.m. in Germany. Because the people don't have like sales calls like super early or like conversations, I start with my calls usually right now at 11, sometimes a bit earlier. I could have calls until almost 12 p.m. here, right? Because sometimes there are calls that start at 10 and that usually go about an hour and sometimes longer, right? And then you still like do some work, you make your notes, you put everything in the CRM, and this also takes time. So I sometimes work, and you saw it here on the channel in the vlogs that we did, until 12, right? And then you're home like super late, which is not ideal. Still, this is what happens here, for example, right now in Cyprus. So what I'm doing is I'm waking up early, doing my morning routine, of course, as always. But then I go to the gym in the morning, right? Not after the work, but before work. Planning the YouTube video, right now I do not find time for that during the week. So what did I do? I adopt this schedule, and I'm doing this at the weekend. I have to adopt my work schedule a bit towards the time zone, and especially towards the appointments that I have. Like especially if you work again in sales or in some job where you have appointments. But yeah, this is what I wanted to mention here for everybody who has appointments. All right, so the next thing would be workspace, right? Because the place around you will have a massive impact on your performance. What is usually the case at the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey is that you will not have that much money, right? You start making online income, you see, okay, I can make money online. Maybe it's just 1, 2, 3, 4,000 euros, dollars online, and you're not rich right now, but you can travel, right? Because it's online. So you might live on a budget, right? You might have like short-term rental apartments. You don't rent anything for long-term, but you have short-term rentals, which is more expensive anyway. But this will probably lead to you being a bit like more frugal at the beginning and having like shittier places. And it is totally fine, by the way, at the beginning, right? This is maybe also a smart idea to not spend everything at first. What I wrote down, but that it does make sense if your place is not that cool, or not that cool, but not that good to work, that you in advance also look for like co-working spaces, for example, close to you, where you can go and where you can, for example, sit where you can perform, or where there are like good hotels where you can sit and where you can work, right? Sometimes in lobbies it's very good to work there because they have Wi-Fi and because it looks very clean and it's a better place to perform than a shitty Airbnb. But what could also make sense is that you will like save the money for the co-working space and sit or book a better Airbnb. So this could also make sense, but you have to look, okay, are there good co-working spaces where you could perform? Maybe you can save some money on the short-term rental on the Airbnb or Booking.com, wherever you book. Live like in a shitty apartment to have a better work performance place. In my opinion, what is not as good, at least for like sales calls, are cafes, right? I made the experience in Colombia. The cafes, they always played music, and I have like noise cancelling headphones. They cancel the voice if you're speaking, but those like this music, this baseline like sounds, the people hear it, and this is of course not good. You want to sound like you are in an office. All right, so the last point that I can give you as an advice or as a recommendation is that you travel with a friend, right? Because many people, especially when they start traveling alone, they report and they say, okay, this can be pretty lonely and this can be it's hard to meet friends, right? Because if you think about it, if you're just at places for, like let's say just a few months, right? How much of a deep relationship can you really develop with somebody? Like somebody that you can trust, somebody where you have a really deep conversation with. And a deep conversation in person is of course different and better than deep conversation on the phone. Right? It is just different, right? And this is why it might be this cool idea to say, okay, I'm traveling, travel with a friend, travel with a buddy, maybe travel with your girlfriend. Or what I do, I travel with a friend and also my camera guy. So because the cool thing is, you will make many cool experiences. For example, we in Colombia, right, in those miradors and the water places, right, the waterfalls. But you share those experiences with a good friend of yours. You can talk about those stories someday or some couple of years in the futures that you did together. It's not like you sharing it and nobody really can relate, but no, you have your buddy with who you can share the story with. Because also the case could also be that you're maybe not the best guy at meeting new people, right, making friends quickly. This could happen too. I'm not the best guy at making friends quickly, at meeting. To some degree, because I almost never go out because I'm working, but to some degree because this is a skill that I haven't developed yet, or like not to a huge degree, right? So it would be hard for me to meet new people, and it would be very likely if I wouldn't go out, if I only work, that this would be pretty lonely for me. Going with my girlfriend first, right, before we broke up, going with my friend and cameraman was a good idea for me. So right, this is why I would recommend it also to you. And furthermore, it's always also like a very calming feeling to know that you have somebody with you that you can really trust, right? Because if you meet somebody, could be an awesome dude, awesome girl, right? And you know her for a couple of weeks, you never truly know the person, right? So it's good, especially if you're, for example, traveling through Latin America, through Colombia, you're going through places where there could be also dangerous people, to at least have someone that you can truly trust. You know, okay, he will not fuck you up, he will not scam you or do even worse things to you. It's a very calming feeling, and it's good. Alright, I want to appreciate you for watching until the end. If you are about to travel right now, I hope this will be useful advice, or maybe you will want to travel in the future, you're planning on this, and I hope this video could maybe inspire you a bit. Maybe we can do some cool shots in there. I don't know what my cameraman, what my friend will do with his magic editing skills. But anyways, I hope it was entertaining. I hope it was educational to some degree and you maybe learn something. As always, like the motto here of this channel is to build like a community of like-minded people, of people who want to improve, who want a better life, maybe want to travel and want to see the world, and who just want more out of life, right? Because the motto here is 10 years of hard work for 50 years of freedom, of traveling, of doing whatever you want, because freedom equals doing whatever we want, right? So if this is interesting, you can subscribe if you want, and then we see each other in the next video. Thanks for watching, take some action, and now I will also continue working and also continue taking action to the same.